Hey guys, MrPokke here, back with another video, and this is going to be my follow-up video where we go ahead and take a look at 5 different, Penta Cipher Zero Cycles that I've cooked up with essentially 5 different team comps that I used her in, all in various different Memory of Chaos bosses, just to see a gist of like what she's capable of doing with all of these different rotations, right? Keep in mind, I did not use the Pollux boss because I think the Pollux boss is not going to be the best representation of what she's truly capable of, especially outside of the Castorice team comp. So I'll be breaking down for you guys the units, the relics, and also showing you guys a couple of my fails for each of these respective runs, just to get an idea of exactly what goes behind each of these different zero cycles, right? Also, yes, my voice is still very cool, so do bear with me. It is what it is. Without further ado, let's just jump straight into the zero cycles themselves. I first want to go ahead and show you guys the build that I've used for my Cipher. This is pretty much going to be the facto build that I use for every single zero cycle. I didn't change at all. I basically stuck her with the signature light code and E0S1, and most of the DPSs that I'm going to be using. In fact, every single one of the DPS that I've been featuring, namely Acheron, Feixiao, Herta, Aglaea, as well as I believe Castorice, every single one of these DPSs, they are going to be at E0. Right? I did not activate any of the islands, so I just want to see what sort of investments can we get on going forward from this, right? So as I was saying, Cipher is going to be at E0S1, 170 speed, 2.7k HP, 2.4k attack, 63% crit, and 177 crit damage. The relics for all of these runs, I'm going to keep it about, they're probably not the best relics. You can definitely get a lot better relics outside because I just can't really be bothered that much to min-max. So this is the gear that I ran for my Herta. Yep, I just, so just working with what I have. So we're going to look over here. We are going to be running the 4-piece diver as well as the 2-piece Glamorph. Like I mentioned in my early access guide, 2-piece Glamorph, it does slightly outperform a Salsodo by a very marginal percentage, and I'm going to be going for the attack percentage drop as well as the quantum damage boost because most of the time I didn't really find myself requiring the energy regeneration that much, right? Crit damage, body, speed boost, and everything else just pretty much the way it goes. I am very overcapped on the crit rate because you only need 50% crit rate to hit the 100% crit. So this is actually a lot of wasted crit values over here, and you can see E0S1, right? Then for each of these different runs, I'll be showing you guys the build for the supports as well as the things about DPS as well. But this is going to be the Cipher that is pretty much the constant for every single zero cycle. So let's just first start off with my first zero cycle, which is going to be the Acheron zero cycle. So this is going to be the Acheron zero cycle featuring the current Memory of Chaos 12 Banana, right? The TV boss, using E0S1 Acheron, E0S1 Jiaoqiu, E0S1 Cipher, as well as a E1S0 Tribute, right? So the start is pretty much very straightforward. You want to just apply all of your debuffs and get the Jiaoqiu stacks as soon as possible. I did contemplate using this before he summons the goons or after he summons the goons, but frankly speaking, it doesn't really matter that much, right? And also, I'm going to be showcasing you guys the runs where I actually failed itself, just to see where can we improve going forward. So this is going to be instantly me letting go of Acheron's ultimate because I do not want to waste any potential slash dream stacks, even though I did use it before Tribi's ultimate, because even though I missed out on the true damage as well as the vulnerability and all that kind of stuff, it is not that important because we do have substantial damage to basically bring us into the next wave, because I've already tested this in my previous runs, so it's gonna be okay, right? So he's gonna summon the goons, and here is gonna be quite a bit of RNG required, because one important thing to note is if your Cipher gets hit too much over here because she's very squishy, or if your Acheron gets hit too much over here because they are both equally squishy, it is gonna cause a bit of a problem because the Banana TV boss later on, it is guaranteed to hit you with the AoE swipe from the main dinosaur later, so they are probably gonna die if the RNG is quite bad. So ideally, you want to let Jiaoqiu as well as Tribi tank most of the hits. You can see my Tribi is gonna be very high HP, and my even Jiaoqiu is gonna be at 5,000 HP, just to help us a little bit more for them to tank the hits themselves, right? So in any case, we didn't really get that good of an RNG because Cipher did get hit, which is putting her at already 1.5 HP, very low, a little bit dangerous. Over here, we are just gonna continuously get our skill points, do our stack generation, try to store this as long as possible. Ideally, I do not want to use Cipher's ultimate over here because I kind of want to save this for the next wave, which is some of the tech that I brought in my early access server, which is I intentionally hold Cipher's ultimate to generate the patron, because patron doesn't go away, right? It's basically going to be here permanently, so you can just use this instantly going forward to the next wave, and the moment that happens, it's going to do a tremendous amount of damage, right? So over here, I'm just going to be continuously building up my skill points. I didn't really think I used, okay, I guess I went for the weekend there. Not that big of a deal because we are going to be going for the Acheron slash Dream. Skill point is going to be okay because the TV bot actually does give us a bit of a skill point from one of the mobs over there, right? So this is 1.5 million, absolutely absurd damage over here, and this actually cleared a little bit too fast for my liking, because we kind of wasted one Acheron potential stacks over here, because this could have generated us 2 additional stacks with skill. So actually a little bit too much damage, right? Ideally, you actually want to get 2 more stacks before you clear the entire wave. So it is what it is. I believe my Jiao Qiu also missed out. Yeah, so my Jiao Qiu also couldn't even go because I basically killed a little bit too fast, which is honestly not ideal because we didn't have enough skill points, and we could have generated basically 3 more stacks from us getting a little bit more hits going in. But regardless, we are gonna go into the TV balls over here. Because of Acheron's technique, he's always gonna be happy, and this is where we do have quite a bit of RNG. Ideally, hopefully, the being tutor stage, because this is never gonna go away, it hits a TV that is gonna be coming up next, right? So if this is gonna be fortunately for us, it actually lands on a TV that is gonna be taking action immediately, and it actually lands on Tribi. So the moment it lands on Tribi, we can instantly let go of a Tribi ultimate and make use of the TV mechanics, which is if you interrupt another hit, he's gonna give us another full energy regeneration. And I basically went for the Cipher out of here just in case the TV gives my Cipher another energy chunk. So big 687k into 146, and unfortunately, you know, the gamble didn't really pay off because out of the 25% chance he has to waste the energy on Acheron. So it is what it is. Nothing too big of a deal. A very, very bad thing is that my Jiao Qiu actually ran out of the ultimate vulnerability field. So this is very bad because in the previous wave, I actually didn't manage to let go of a Jiao Qiu base on Acheron because, like I mentioned, I killed a little bit too fast. So at this point, we are going to be losing substantial amounts of damage over here, which is, honestly not really ideal. But eventually towards the end, we still managed to pull it off. So yeah, just keep in mind, this place here is really, really bad because my Jiao Qiu doesn't have the ultimate field up. So at this point, I kind of just have to go because otherwise I'm going to be wasting my slash dream stacks. And you can see over here the damage from 40% vulnerability from Cipher, 30% vulnerability from Tribi, 24% rest pen with 24% true damage plus, basically the true damage that is going to be tabulating up in Patreon over here, results to us dealing 1.84 million using an E0 S1 Acheron without even Jiao Qiu. Dude, this could have easily been more than 2 million damage, assuming that we are Jiao Qiu. But yep, very, very easily getting us into phase 2 with a lot of excess damage. So that's going to be quite nice over here. Now that we are going to be in phase 2, I do want to hopefully see that we can get a little bit of energy so that we can get the double skill point generation. Unfortunately, all my team doesn't really have any energy left, so it is what it is. We're just going to hit 2 skill points and sort of move on. This is going to give us an attack boost and force tutorage, and which is also going to be another RNG. Unfortunately, this time RNG did not favor us because they actually, you can see, it turned the TV that's going to be coming next, which is going to hit us, so we are going to be losing energy over here. It is what it is, part of the RNG with the TV boss, right? So at this point, I'm just thinking to myself, I'm just going to be doing a little bit of basic damage, maybe do a little bit of toughness bar, but unfortunately, none of them have any quantum weakness, so it is what it is. We take the hit, and Jiao Qiu, I don't think we actually even got Jiao Qiu's ultimate up remaining on the run, because I need to break this guy really, really quickly, because otherwise he's gonna make use of this. You can see over here the TV's banquet or whatever it is, right? So at this point, I'm just basically trying to go all in. Cipher over here, we're also gonna be lacking a little bit of energy, but luckily for us, the next TV is gonna be happy. So I'm praying to God that the TV actually hits one of these minions over here so that we can get the energy regeneration to put us into 9 stacks of slash dreams so that we can break the TV beforehand, right? So you can see here, we actually hit a Cipher, which is, once again, very, very unfortunate, because if it hit like Jiao Qiu or Tribi, potentially we could have gotten like another ultimate, which can generate us another free energy regeneration, right? So it is what it is. We are going to be minusing 1 skill point, and this is going to push the enemy action value up again, and we're going to be taking a hit over here. And this it actually helped us a lot, because now that he hit us, we actually do get enough energy to generate our Jiao Qiu's ultimate as well as Cipher's ultimate. So at this point, we basically went all in. Cipher is going to be at 278 HP. So at this part, ideally you actually use Acheron's ultimate first. But I was a little bit hasty just in case I Cipher died, so I panicked a little bit. If you use your Acheron's ultimate first, it actually generates a lot more patron stacks for Cipher, which allows her Cipher to actually deal a lot more damage herself, right? So at this point, I basically just went for it, but just keep in mind, you should be using your Acheron out before Cipher, doing a 620k, and an Acheron E0 S1 is just going to go all in. And luckily for us, we do have a substantial amount of damage, 1.9 million with Jiao Qiu's ultimate, and that is going to be the 0 cycle, right? So the builds that I'm going to be using over here, you can see, pretty sure I showed this. Yep. So this is gonna be the build that I used. This is the E0 S1 Acheron. I tuned her to 118 speed after Tribi used stun, which puts us into 133.4 effective, 73% crit, 194 crit damage, which is, I believe, plus 16%, right? So we are at roughly 89% crit, which is not too ideal since we didn't unlock the E1, but it is what it is. Jiao Qiu is going to be 171 speed with Ego, which honestly I think is way too fast for his own good anyways, but I digress because you only need 168 speed. Tribute is going to be at 88 speed, nothing too crazy with on energy regeneration rope, and Cipher is going to be the build that I show over there, right? So that is going to be the Acheron E0S1 Zero Cycle. Now I do want to show you like a fail, and I do want to do this a little bit more for all of my runs going forward to see what could happen when you guys actually don't get the run, right? So this is the fail where essentially you get a really bad RNG, and you can see Cipher's health is actually way too low because of the flame out of space hitting her way too much. So in this scenario, you pretty much should already be resetting because it is almost impossible to prevent the TV from hitting damage to your Cipher, right? And technically, you could try to gamble this out and see for a Castorice global passive to still get us that one final bit of push, which is technically still possible. But at this point, it is gonna be very tight, right? So you can see over here, this is technically a little bit better because I actually get the turn from Jiao Qiu as well as the turn from Acheron. But you can see I'm actually dangerously low to dying. So if the Sanctus Medicus hits, like, if it's not trippy or Jiao Qiu, then it's gonna be very bad at the TV, right? So this is gonna be a follow-up. Didn't really get a kill, which is very bad because if Cipher actually managed to get a kill here, it could still be a little bit doable. Luckily, it hits Jiao Qiu, and it hits Chibi, which is good for us because I didn't hit any of the characters that we don't want to get hit. So Acheron is going to finish this up with a single skill, and if it's not enough, then I have to use my Cipher's ultimate, so it is what it is. And unfortunately, these two are left with like 1% and 1%, so I kind of just have to waste this ultimate. Very unfortunate. So already off to a very bad start. One good thing is that technically speaking, I guess it technically still brought us to the second wave without risking too much damage, because you can see from just now we did have quite a decent chunk of overload if we use our Acheron's ultimate first before Cipher, right? So you can see over here the TVs are always going to be happy immediately, so I'm just going to instantly let go of my ultimate. Don't really need to wait that much anymore. Boom. Instantly bring us down to 55% HP remaining. This is going to give us the attack buff. Honestly, in hindsight, I should have waited just for a little bit more of an attack boost. This is also going to be RNG. Luckily, the RNG favored us again. So this TV is going to give Jiao Qiu an ultimate, which allow us to cut in with the ultimate itself, which means we do get another energy regeneration. I think Tribi gets an ultimate here as well. So very good. So Tribi is going to let go. And then the TV is going to give us another full energy regeneration, hopefully on one of the three over here. Unfortunately, wasted on Acheron again, right? So Jiao Qiu is just going to keep doing Jiao Qiu things because at least this time our field is actually up permanently. Now, unfortunately, Cipher is actually getting dangerously low, and I don't believe Cipher is going to survive this because unless you can kill the TV at this point, this angry TV will pretty much always bring Cipher down to 0 HP, right? So luckily for us, we actually get the additional step because of Cipher's S1, which actually brings us down to phase 2 before the TV can, basically do the TV things, right? So this brings us down to S2, but we also follow up with a 3B follow-up attack, which then makes everyone happy. So technically, the run is still very doable. We get an additional skill point. We also get the Dungeon to push up a little bit more, but this point is going to be completely out of RNG. So it's going to give us an attack buff, and then he's going to give us the Force Angry mode. Now, taking a look, which is TV. So luckily for us, this TV is the one that's coming next. So far, this run has been incredibly lucky, despite the fact that Cipher is basically down to 440 HP. So Jiao Qiu, I don't think we're going to be getting another ultimate already. So we do have 3 skill points remaining, and I know that we are basically just going to get Jiao Qiu, Cipher, and Acheron. So I think I just decided to go for all in. Yep, I just go for all in, just to get a little bit more energy so that maybe the TV give us a Jiao Qiu energy, then we can get another Jiao Qiu ultimate. So we go for the skill. So this TV hits Jiao Qiu, giving us another Jiao Qiu ultimate for another additional stack, and we also refund back another additional energy. Go for the follow-up, 7 stacks. Hopefully it lands on Cipher. Gives us the Tribi, which is still very nice. Tribi is going to activate the ultimate. Duns pushes up our Acheron, instantly giving us the one final hit. This is going to be the skill point. At this point, I was thinking, if I don't clear it here, I'm basically going to lose, right? Because if I don't break, this thing would not go down. So I'm trying to find a point where I can break. And this TV all the way at the side is going to be the lowest toughness bar. So after casting my ultimate, I actually break the TV all the way towards the end, which means I can delay the final ultimate just a little bit more, bring us to very close to 23% HP remaining into a follow-up attack, 90%, but unfortunately, it is not quite enough, and Cipher does unfortunately go down. Global passive activates, but it is still not going to be enough damage because I don't have enough ultimate to let go of another Cipher. So maybe if you want to do, this is a situation where you could potentially consider a Cipher on energy regeneration rope, because Cipher's personal damage, like I mentioned, is really not important. And maybe if we run ER rope over here, this could give us another ultimate which can definitely clean up this zero cycle, even with all those things going out of the way, right? So just something to keep in mind. This is a potential situation where ER rope Cipher can work over here, right? But that's pretty much it for the field run for the Acheron zero cycle, and I'll see you guys in the next zero cycle. And then since we just finished up the TV boss, I am going to be showing another zero cycle featuring Cipher on D Herta with Anexa. So this is going to be done with a E0S1 D Herta, E0S1 Anexa, E1S0 Tribi, as well as a E0S1 Cipher, right? So the run is going to be a little bit similar to the run that we had with Acheron, where essentially you want to try to get the good RNG for you, such that especially the energy regeneration TV. But for D Herta, it's gonna be a little bit easier over here because Anexa does give us a lot of stat generation, which allows my Herta to do an absolutely obscene amount of damage in wave 1, at least compared to Acheron. So you can see over here, from a single D Herta ultimate following back up into a enhanced skill, we are pretty much gonna be almost clearing every single one of these over here. I aim it at a 42 guy, I aim it at the guy in the middle. And we can see over here, we are already down to the last 2 mobs. So a lot less RNG when compared to Acheron, because you can see we are going to be going out for Tribi, into Cipher, into Anexa. Even though my Herta doesn't get another action anymore because I casted the ultimate before Herta actually went for itself, it's actually going to be enough damage to get us a zero cycle anyways. So this is an almost no RNG wave 1 compared to Acheron. So Anexa is just going to go for the double skill. And then we're going to follow up with another skill over here. Very, very good follow-up attack lands on the TV. This is going to go. And then he's going to give us the attack buff. Force Implant luckily did not land on any of the TV, so this is almost going to be crucial when it comes to the RNG for the TV boss. This is going to give us the energy for Anexa, which is very, very nice. So now I'm going to let go of my Cipher ultimate. And I'm going to let go of my Anexa ultimate. Now, ideally, if you wanted to play safe, you could use Anexa's ultimate first before using Cipher. But I was feeling that I'm probably going to be getting another ultimate anyways, as long as we get the implant right. Now, one thing to keep in mind is Anexa's ultimate here is actually counterintuitive against the TV because it prevents the TV from giving you the second energy regeneration because of the whole freeze mechanic, right? So you actually don't want to use Anexa's ultimate here because if I didn't, I could have gotten another energy regeneration, right? So I'm just going to pretend that the TV hit Anexa instead, which led to 0 energy, but this was basically a misplay. You should not be using Anexa's ultimate to cut in between the TVs to get maximum value, either from energy regeneration, for the skill point, for the action value, whatever it's going to be, right? So just keep that in mind. Everybody is going to be continuing as per normal over here. 44% HP left. This guy is going to come back in, giving us the additional skill point. And I'm going to go for the Trivia ultimate, cut in between, and then we're going to get another additional skill point for 5 total skill points. Pushing our Herta up right before the dinosaur, and then at this point I'm just going to go for the skill into an ultimate, bringing us to the wave 2 very, very easily. 60% HP left, 0%, and then Trivi follow-ups, a little bit of an overkill over here. It is what it is. And then we are going to go for the Herta enhanced skill again for absolutely whopping 1.5 million damage. So this is really where it starts to show. If you stack on both Tribi and Cipher, like I mentioned in my early access for Castorice, you do get 70% vulnerability, which makes your damage just absolutely go crazy, right? It's same for Acheron, same for Herta. Very, very nice. So you can see we are going to be getting tutored. Luckily for us, we do have a Cipher hit as well as an Anexa hit. Unfortunately, I don't think my Anexa actually implanted 5 weaknesses onto anyone, which means that he's not going to be getting a full-up attack skill, which is truly unfortunate. And unfortunately, you can see over here, this TV is going to be all the way towards the end, which means we are not going to be getting an additional energy because the RNG didn't favor us this time. So at this point, I'm just going to be dealing as much time as bar damage as possible. Cipher, we can just use our skills because we have a lot of skill points. And the guy's going to be with the quantum, and this one is going to be, you know, like I mentioned, we didn't get the 5 weakness implant, so I have to use my skill over here, and then I just use my ultimate subsequently afterwards, because we're not dealing any toughness bar damage since the guy does not have any wind weakness at all. So we go for the skill into a Cipher follow-up, into a ultimate from Anexa, just dealing as much damage as possible. And you can see over here, 24% remaining, goes for the 20% remaining. This gives us additional skill points. Very, very good. And then he's actually gonna come back in. So this is where it's quite good. I'm not sure if it's actually intentional. After the freeze from Anexa, it actually turns the TV to happy mode. Because before this, you can see this TV was angry. But because of Anexa's ultimate, it actually forces the TV to be happy. And I didn't even know that until like today, so I guess I'm a tourist. But yeah, so very, very nice little interaction, which means that we are going to be getting the energy regeneration onto Cipher, just in time for us to let go of our 789 patience. So at this point, if the TV went for either Herta or Chibi, I think it would have all been fine, because if it landed on to Chibi, we could have gone on Dance to push our Herta up. If it landed onto Herta, we can just cast our ultimate and let go of an enhanced skill. So it was basically a 75% chance to even get this right in the first place, because 20% HP to win. So it's going to be very straightforward. Cipher goes in for a absolutely massive 939,000 true damage, bringing us the 0 cycle with the Herta team. I would say that compared to Acheron, this team was actually a lot easier. In fact, I did this on my second try, because we do have a Nexus freeze mechanic to reduce the RNG of us getting hit, right? Basically getting a no-hit run for the very first wave, which definitely helped us a lot better. So you can see over here, my DRL gears are just absolutely dog shit. 80% crit rate, 95% crit damage, because I really wanted to force the at least 118 speed so that we can get us 104 effective, running a 3B dance. So this is going to be our S1, right? Fully maxed out with a Scholar and 2-piece Izumo, E0 S1. And then for our Nexa, it's also not going to be that ideal, right? 80% crit rate, 90% crit damage, and we are actually running the 4-piece Ego set. If you want to go for more DPS, you could definitely opt for the 4-piece Scholar as well. So that's pretty much going to be it. None of the gears are going to be too ideal. And then for our Tribi and Cipher, it is going to be the exact same gears that I've shown you guys. So now a lot of room for improvement when it comes to the relic quality, right? So with that being said, I'm going to be showing you guys the run where I failed. So this is the run where I actually failed. I believe the main thing over here, we actually didn't get a freeze in time. So I used the Herta skill over here, and we actually couldn't break this boss. So I was a little bit forced to, okay, if I'm going to be getting hit, this actually made the run a lot more difficult in the second wave. So ideally, you definitely want to make sure that these bosses, they are going to be crowd controlled so that they don't actually hit you, right? So I actually use my Anessa to sort of reduce the damage a little bit, because it does cut in between. So I can use a Cipher follow-up. So it definitely still mitigated the damage, but it's going to contribute to us not getting enough for the second wave, because you see, Nexa actually couldn't let go of his skill point, so we actually didn't have enough energy over here, right? And also, TV boss, luckily for us, he's actually going to be angry, but we're taking a lot of damage here. So even though he didn't force tutor any of the TVs and I waited for him to go, this is actually not ideal, because he just deals way too much damage. So you do not want a TV to be angry, right? Even though it wouldn't make any of the other TVs be angry themselves, which means you can gamble for RNG, but this is not ideal, because you can see my team is actually very low. So even though we got the energy regeneration, even though we get a cut in for the double energy regeneration, my team is actually going to collapse here, because we actually took a hit from the AoE TV here, right? So general rule of thumb for Herta, this TV in the next wave, he can never be angry and let go of his AoE flamethrower attack and the body swipe, because when that happens, your run is basically going to collapse and you're not going to be able to sustain all the way to the second wave, right? So you can see our rest of the run, we're just going to continue, but unfortunately, even though we do enough damage, okay, okay, maybe I'm not gonna lie, if this didn't 1%, I think I could have gone on a 0 cycle, because this actually made my Herta waste her basic, and then the TV goes in and killed my Cipher. So I'm not even gonna lie, if that actually killed, it might have been possible, because the TV will be happy and I can just follow up with all my stuff again, right? So yeah, a combination of all the things, but this is gonna be my very first attempt, and unfortunately we didn't get a 0 cycle over here, so that's gonna be it. So this is going to be the next 0 cycle featuring my wife, Feixiao. The teams down here are going to be E0 S1 Feixiao, E1 S0 Tribi, E0 S1 Cipher, as well as a E1 S1 Robin, right? So you can see over here, the run for this is going to be essentially getting our ultimate backup for Robin and Tribi, essentially funneling through all of our follow-up attacks, as well as the additional hits from Feixiao herself. We can see that Feixiao's follow-ups are actually extremely strong, so you do want to balance out Feixiao's ultimate and don't overkill the enemy mobs. So this is going to be very important. Ideally, you want to make sure that the people that gets the ultimate should be getting the maximum energy regeneration value. So at this point, we are going to cast a tribute out despite DDD being absolutely useless, because we're all at 0 AV, but we do get the energy regeneration, putting our tribute at a very healthy place. So at this point, I know for a fact that I tested using my ultimate on the war armor guy is going to be a waste. So I actually went for the ultimate on the horse, and this is going to be a whopping 800,000 damage from E0 S1 Feixiao, which already puts the horse at roughly this is the war armor guy. Yeah, we really put a horse at roughly 1/3 HP, so we are completely viable to actually just purely use our skills and get rid of the war armor guy because of the percentage max health true damage, which then brings us into a very healthy amount of stacks to go into the next wave. So Cipher is just gonna go for our basic attack, following this up with a Feixiao skill, follow-up, Cipher follow-up, Feixiao follow-up. So very, very nicely done. Clean 0 cycle so far in the wave 1, giving us 9 stacks into Cipher's 475 patron over here, right? So at this point, I do want to immediately let go of a Feixiao ultimate, and after this, this will help us generate more patron stacks for Cipher. So this is going to put us at 637 Cipher stacks, and only afterwards do we cast Cipher's ultimate, because like I mentioned, you want to store this as much as possible without wasting any of the energy. 828 damage, bring us to 40% for True Swarm. Robin is going to be getting hit. This is extremely unlucky, but you're going to see how this run eventually going to work towards the end, right? So Cipher over here, we do have to use our basic attack, breaking the bug, which gives us the vulnerability debuff, and then Feixiao can use a skill point to basically deal a little bit more damage to the horse. And then after we cast our ultimate through True Swarm, perfectly breaking his Thunder's bar and actually giving us into phase 2 for a whopping 758,000 damage at E0 S1. Very, very nice instant phase 2. And this is going to be a little bit of RNG. Hopefully, he doesn't kill Robin over here, right? So he's going to summon the things. Luckily, doesn't hit Robin, hitting Triby, which is going to be the most ideal target. And then the bug over here is going to hit Triby again. Very, very ideal. So this is a part where most RNG is going to be occurring, because this is a sustainers run. If at any point of time, if your units die over here, because it is going to be basically RNG, or if they don't hit Triby, because Triby is basically the only one that stands the most to gain because of the energy regeneration, because Feixiao doesn't care, and Cipher and Robin are way too squishy, then the run will probably have to reset. Luckily for us, we're still more or less in the green, so you can see here, my Cipher and Robin, they're going to be very, very low. Now, unfortunately, the wind shear actually kills my Robin. So without Glow passive, we will have to reset. So just try to find a run where Robin doesn't get hit like 10 times consecutively, where you distribute the damage back into Triby, Feixiao, or even potentially Cipher. But Cipher, you can see over here, is going to be very, very low. So just keep that into consideration. Now, although Robin is going to give us the Glow passive, we are going to still continue on as if nothing happened, which is why Glow passive is actually very, very huge quality of life for 0 cycle runs. So just basically saving us a lot of time to get the perfect reset. So at this point, I was thinking to myself, Triby needs to get our ultimate, and then I was thinking, can Duns push up my Feixiao up before the bugs? Unfortunately, that is not going to be the case. We are still going to be 6 action value away from everything else, and the next bug swipe is going to be the AoE hit, which means Robin is 100% going to die. So there's no way in hell that I can greed for it anymore. So immediately after my Cipher hit, we have to cast our ultimate with Robin instantly. So this is going to be the case. Brings everyone back up. Triby lands a little bit of a follow-up attack, and then Feixiao would just let go of all in over here, right? 4 stacks and a half. We go for the skill. At this point, we should be getting enough stacks to get one final ultimate on the True Swarm. And as you guys remember, when True Swarm dies, as well as when all the bugs dies, it actually deals tremendous damage to the last mob remaining. So as long as you kill the True Swarm over here, the other flying horse should basically be dead by default, right? So at this point, I'm basically using all of my skills here to try to deal as much damage as possible. And one in hindsight, you can see over here, right? Cipher, once again, doesn't really have enough ultimate to land one more of this additional patron release, which is basically equivalent to 24% true damage, right? So another instance where if we were to use an energy regeneration rope Cipher, this could have given us an additional ultimate stack, which does lead to a much higher damage output, which is at the end of the day. But you can see over here, damage-wise, we are still very, very safe. A lot of overflow damage. 598,000 instantly brings True Swarm down. Triby is going to go for the follow-up, and when he explodes, basically everything is going to die, right? So just keep in mind, this is going to be the second 0 cycle where my Cipher actually did not manage to let go of the patron stacks because we didn't have enough energy. Very, very similar to the previous Acheron 0 cycle, right? So another situation where energy regeneration rope could actually be a lot more viable. Or if you wanted to, you could just basically save up every single one of your hits. Just don't even use your ultimate at all, and then let go at the very, very last wave. But if you were to do that, you are potentially leaving a lot of damage on the table because you can only let go of one single patronage, right? And you let go, you miss the debuffs, you miss the additional damage on Robin, you miss the additional damage on Triby. So something to keep in mind. But I would say after this couple of 0 cycle experiences, Cipher with energy regeneration rope might be the go-to, especially if you're considering a 0 cycle, because she's always missing that little bit to hit the maximum energy and letting go of this true damage, right? So that is gonna be the 0 cycle run in the upcoming Memory of Chaos 12 True Sting, and we are gonna be taking a look at the builds over here. And at this point, I'm gonna be showing you guys something very, very funny. All right, so this is my Feixiao, right? 137 speed, 85, 153. Nothing looks too crazy, and then I forgot. This is gonna be S1. I forgot that I changed her relics with one of the other units I was testing. I can't remember who. Maybe it was an arms or something. But essentially, this entire time, I was running this on Luke Shaka. So this run could have been a lot easier, but the thing is we were not really missing damage. As you guys see from just now, we had a lot of damage remaining anyways. The most important thing is if we were to even swap out Cipher for the energy regeneration rope to cast one additional ultimate, that would have been more than sufficient. So whether or not we even ran Durant over here, it doesn't even matter. So yeah, I was just completely being a dumbass over here. So it is what it is. E0 as one Feixiao with the exact same 3B as yeah, at this point I was like, what the hell am I doing, right? So a lot of wasted stats, a lot of wasted damage. It is what it is. I was okay, yeah, I was just crashing out, right? Yeah, because I think I spent quite a bit of reset, and you're gonna be seeing this later as well. So exact same 3B, exact same Cipher, and this is gonna be the Robin, which is honestly really not that great. E1 S1 on 4-piece mouse and 2-piece freelance because that's what the creator server gave me, and I just can't be asked to just create the best install, right? Ideally should be running 2+2 attack, but it is what it is. So that's pretty much it. And now I'll show you guys a bit of the fails. So I'm just going to be letting this play in the background, but essentially I actually tried this stage a lot of times because we had to get the perfect RNG required for wave 1 to go into wave 2. So I was basically limit testing to see if I can save up my Cypher's ultimate without using this going for into wave 1, as well as testing out the distribution on whether do I cast my skill or whether do I cast my ultimate on which enemy elites, right? So that was the best scenario, the best distribution we guys see from just now. This is where I was basically trying out who should I skill, who do I ultimate, and this one can see, even though I did use my hits, I actually get the perfect ending, which is very similar to the previous run, but at this point it's going to be purely RNG, because if at any point of time, if Robin gets hit or if Cypher gets hit too much, so this is so far so good, alright, if it reaches to this situation, you can see over here that we are actually lacking quite a decent chunk of damage, and Robin actually dies here, which means that the run is basically going to be over because, you know, she's just gonna die to the windshield, right? So it is what it is. So very easy to fail with Feixiao. So this is one of the fails, and this is gonna be another one of the fails where it's gonna be a very similar situation, where, you know, wave 1 is not too big of an issue because I was just limit testing. Wave 2, this is where I limit tested wrongly, because I actually wasted one of my ultimates on the horse because I was trying out which do I skill and which my ultimate. So it is gonna be the worst combination because we actually enter into the next wave with no Feixiao ultimate since we couldn't kill the horse in time, right? So we are down 9 stacks of Feixiao's Aureus, flying Aureus. So this is also just a brick run. And then one more fail over here is gonna be another situation where I believe is basically my goons getting destroyed. Yeah, so once again, Robin just keeps getting hit and then she just basically dies. And yep. Yeah, it is what it is because we couldn't even kill the mob. So essentially, this run definitely needs a little bit of reset. Once you sort out the first half, just make sure that none of your important units, specifically Feixiao and Robin and Cipher, so hopefully 3B is the one taking all the hits if you really want to get the 0 cycle, right? So that is pretty much it for our Feixiao run. And then since we were already on True Sting, I'm going to be showing you guys another 0 cycle on True Sting, this time featuring our, you know, favorite global passive, brand new girlfriend from Emphorios, Castorice, right? So this run, we are going to be running E0 as 1 Cipher, E1 as 1 Hyacinth, E1 as 0 3B, as well as a E0 as 1 Castorice. Now, keep in mind, because we did, you know, use the E1 Hyacinth, I intentionally actually put Castorice at this slot over here just to nerf her damage a little bit, because in slot 1, you actually get the Mimo damage, Mimo sprite damage buff if whatever member in the slot 1 is going to be, right? So I actually intentionally put Castorice all the way at slot 4 just so that we can actually squeeze out a little bit less damage and make it a little bit more relatable. But I would say I did try out this run quite a lot of time. E1 Hyacinth is almost going to be mandatory here, because if we do not have E1 Hyacinth, you actually don't gain enough charge for Castorice to summon the dragon in time to get the 0 cycle. Now, this is by no means that you have to have E1 Hyacinth, because once again, we're talking about a 0 cycle here, which is going to be basically unnecessary for 99.99% of the player base. But if you do want a 0 cycle, I think this is almost like a must. So we're just going to take a look over here. 3B is going to let go of the ultimate. Castorice is going to be at 100% right here. So we always let go of Castorice full dragon burst, and Castorice is actually going to be the one that lets go of the highest number of patron generation stacks. You can see over here, Cypher's patron stack is going to generate like an absolute ridiculous amount later on towards the end. So at this point, we are just going to be saving this very easily. And compared to the previous 2 0 cycles, this 0 cycle is technically a little bit more comfortable, because as long as you can find out the charge required to get Pollux, then it's going to be good, because we do have Hyacinth and Sustain, so we don't really need to grind for any of the hit RNG when your units die or whatever, right? So over here, you can see we are going to be getting enough damage to basically get us to one final hit. This is going to be where we are going to be using our heal, get a little bit more charge, and Ika is going to land the final blow over here, right? So I would say if you did not have the E1 Hyacinth, this is pretty much impossible because I want to enter the next wave with basically as close to full charge as possible. So we're just going to go for the heal. A little bit of a wastage over here. We wait for him to summon the bugs, and then I cast my Castorice ultimate. So very, very nice over here. We are going to basically let go of this to kill all of the bugs and then instantly pop back into a Hyacinth ultimate to give us as much charge as possible. So that's pretty much going to be the straightforward thing to do. So we cast off our Hyacinth ultimate, give us the heals, give us the new bugs, as well as give us a charge for Castorice. 24%, Ika goes back in for 265,000, absolutely ridiculous. And at this point, I actually was thinking, should I save or not? And I'm thinking, you know what, I'm just gonna save Castorice ultimate for as long as possible because I do believe that a single dragon can get us the kill without using Castorice, or without using Cipher's patron, right? So you can see over here, we are gonna cast our skill, giving us a dragon. So dragon is gonna go at 100%. True Sting is gonna be level 55, and we actually get Ika to kill the Bolvark, which are very, very important to the two vulnerability stacks, right? So now that we have our Poleaxe, hopefully this brings us into phase 2, and if it's not gonna be enough, then it's gonna be a little bit of an issue because I do need to save our Cipher's thingy for the next wave, right? So you can see 13% over here, but generally speaking, it's still fine. So we're gonna land the 3B follow-up into another 3B's basic attack, and then Cipher just continuously, just at this point, just save your energy, right? You want to save up all of your patron stacks for as much as possible, and at this point, we go for the swipe. Cipher follows up, bring us to 0%. Very, very nice over here. Okay, even if Cipher didn't follow up, the Quantum Imprisonment, the Entanglement Break would have basically killed him anyways. So this is going to be phase 2. So it's going to be extremely, extremely tight. You are basically down to the final Hyacinth action. And without the E1 Hyacinth or the S1, I would know for a fact that Castorice is never going to be getting the next dragon over here, right? So you absolutely needed the S1 to get us the 100% charge. Throw this out of the ultimate, and this brings us to 100%. Arise our dragon, deal as much damage as possible, right? Ika goes back in for 252k. Very, very nice. And then I let go of my Castorice ultimate, 79% HP remaining, and then this dragon is just gonna let go of the breath attack, right? Hopefully this saves up a big enough showcase for my Cipher to let go of the final blow. Very nice, 20% remaining, and this will be 1,375 patron stacks, 40% health, and Cipher is gonna very, very nicely finish this up. This is probably the highest amount of patron stacks that I've actually done intentionally. So 1.375 million additional true damage. Cipher goes in for a very, very nice overkill finish. 0 cycling, 1.4 million, right? So that is gonna be our Castorice 0 cycle against the upcoming MOC12 True Sting for your considerations, right? So you can see over here, the build is gonna be essentially seen here. Nothing too crazy, exact same Cipher, so I'm not gonna be touching that a little bit as well. And then for Hyacinth on 195 speed, and yes, we actually did not hit 200 speed Hyacinth, which is just a damn shame. But I just, like I mentioned, I didn't really get the best relics, and I didn't really want to craft them, and I really have our Idolon, so I want to make it, intentionally or unintentionally a little bit more readable. Your Hyacinth should be at the bare minimum 200 speed, right? Then the 3B is going to be the exact same. Also, the crit rate is not going to be that high, and our Castorice is going to be seen over here, 46% crit rate, which is also not going to be that crazy, right? So that is going to be our Castorice 0 cycle. And then for our fails in Castorice, the most important thing with the fails basically is with regards to this, right? So you can see all the way towards the end, I do not have enough to trigger the final stack over here, right? Let me just try to see. So this is without E1 Hyacinth, right? So this is without E1 Hyacinth. I'm basically down by almost 40-ish%. Okay, 43-ish% charge on Castorice. Missing quite a bit of new buff, which once again sort of just drives home how absolutely ridiculous E1 Hyacinth is for the Castorice Poleaxe summon, right? So very, very straightforward, because all of this run for Castorice, there are basically no RNG because you're already getting a sustain, and most of the units don't really care about the energy that much. The only thing that matters for like a Castorice 0 cycle is making sure that she gets the Poleaxe as soon as possible so that she can summon the dragon to the next phase, right? So you can see over here, I'm basically gonna be missing quite a decent chunk for us to get the next dragon. And also, I also wasted this ultimate where I saved up all the way in time because I wanted to see if we needed this ultimate to get us to the next phase. So you can see over here, I basically used my Cipher at this point because I actually didn't deal enough damage over here, right? Yeah, I actually had to use my Cipher's ultimate for wave 1 because we didn't have enough charge as well as damage for Castorice itself to finish up the horses before making use of the Poleaxe itself. So these two main points are led to what I couldn't get a zero cycle on the first wave, which means I let the Castorice Dragon as well as the Cipher Patron, which is a lot of it's gonna be wasted over here, right? So that is gonna be the failed run for Castorice. I'm pretty sure maybe E0 Hyacinth could still be doable with the exact same team. I'll leave it up to you guys to decide the best combinations for your relics and etc. But that is gonna be my experience running the Castorice team. With that, we are gonna come to our final zero cycle where I did 5 different zero cycles with Cipher. This time featuring my favorite team of all time as of this point in time in HSR, Aglaea. I absolutely love the way Aglaea plays. Previously, we will be running Aglaea with Sunday, Bobby, and Tribi for the zero cycle setup because we get a lot of additional damage. So this time, I essentially replaced Tribi to get our zero cycle against the next MOC 12 Hule. And in my opinion, this is probably the most difficult boss to date because you need a lot of good RNG to make sure that you do not die. And in my opinion, this zero cycle of Aglaea is technically easier compared to Feixiao, even though she's completely off element, which just goes to show absolutely how ridiculous Aglaea is as a team comp. So we're just gonna take a look at the zero cycle over here. This is gonna be the run where we actually got our success. Robin will get our ultimate always 100% of the time because the lion guy is always gonna give us maximum energy, right? He always does the max, right? So we are gonna be playing this very dangerously low because our entire team is gonna be on a very low health. So you do need to grind quite a bit on RNG. But with Aglaea, I actually got this on my second ever attempt after failing this multiple times with Feixiao, right? I tried this with Feixiao. I wanted to get a Feixiao round in the second half because, you know, wind weakness, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to get it. But Aglaea actually came in and clutched us the zero cycle run for the Penta zero cycle. So for this point, you play exactly the same as with Aglaea as with any of the other previous team comps with Tribi, without Tribi, with Cipher. So exactly the same with Sunday. You speed tune your Aglaea 2 times plus 1 speed with Sunday. This is the best speed setup, period, especially for zero cycles. So I don't really need to explain myself anymore. So this is gonna be where we're gonna be getting a little bit of RNG. You definitely need to hit the lion and make sure that this lion dies, because if the lion does not die, your team is gonna wipe by the time you reach to Hule, right? So you can see over here a lot of damage coming, 544,000 from a single drone attack, and then we are absolutely gonna clear this lion with no issue whatsoever. 700,000 damage. E0 S1 Aglaea. But alright, I forgot to say the setup. The setup done here is gonna be with E0 S1 Aglaea, E0 S1 Sunday, E1 S1 Robin, as well as E0 S1 Cipher, right? So relatively low cost, and then we are gonna be actually getting a absolutely overkill amount of damage because we actually wasted 1 Cipher action, 1 Garment Maker action, 1 Aglaea action, then 1 Sunday action, and into another Aglaea action. So we're actually having a lot of damage left on the table. But one good thing that we actually kill him in time is that we don't take damage. So even though I could have stopped this a little bit, right? I only aim the mobs and try to stall this as much as I can so that I can let go of everyone. We are gonna get hit, and Hule deals a lot of damage. So in this specific scenario, it is gonna be better for us to just get the run out of the way and just don't take as much damage as much as you can, right? So this is gonna get us into wave 2 against Hule over here, right? So for Cipher, we are gonna be holding our patrons that's a little bit more. So Aglaea is gonna go in for 360,000, and at this point, you just pray, right? You basically just start praying and hope to God that Hule does not kill any of your units. Same for any other team, honestly, right? So we are gonna let go of our Cipher, 735,000 stacks for 739,000 damage, bring us for Hule into already 46% remaining. Aglaea is gonna do for the exact same combination. You can see my speed tuning here is actually done perfectly, more or less, right? So Aglaea goes 1 action ready before Sunday. Sunday pulls out my Aglaea. Aglaea is gonna go, and you can see over here, I do have enough energy left over here to cast our ultimate to push our Garment Maker form into the next wave, and right before Robin takes place again, right? So this speed tuning is absolutely essential. You have to make sure that Aglaea can squeeze in 1 more action to Robin over here, otherwise it's gonna be a little bit scuffed. So just keep in mind, I was calculating the energy. Okay, you know what? I don't want to risk it, so I just let go of my Sunday ultimate for the additional energy, just to make sure that we get the ultimate, right? Because I'm not gonna casting an ultimate again, I think, all the way towards the end. So I'm gonna let go of a joint attack into an ultimate, 450,000, instantly bringing us into phase 2, right? I believe this should bring us to phase 2. Yep, very nice, and this is going to be phase 2 immediately, and then Garment Maker is going to go, and this point, again, is going to be RNG. If it hits any of your units, you die, you just had to reset, so it is what it is. So Garment Maker keeps going, and we do squeeze out 1 more additional Aglaea action right before Robin expires. So this is the part where I was basically greeding, right? Honestly, you probably don't need to greed now that I think about it. But I was thinking to myself, okay, maybe if I greed a little bit more, since I do have the global passive, I can squeeze out a little bit more damage because 80% is still quite far. But in hindsight, after you guys can see the run later on, I think I could have just instantly went for the Robin ultimate. without even greeting, right? But in any case, just see the run over here. So Robin is gonna go for the basic attack, and I basically opted to wait for him to land first, hitting Sunday. And you can see my entire team actually collapses. We make use of the glow passive since we already have it. Cipher goes for the weaken, and we're gonna be getting a lot of stacks here with the additional damage from Aglaea and Sunday. Goes back in 72%. So at this point, without Robin's buff, it's actually very minuscule damage because we went from basically 80% to 63%, right? Okay. 61%. So we dealt 19% of his maximum health before we cast our Robin ultimate. So this would have been the case. We basically, you know, we could have dealt 19% less damage if we instantly Robin out, right? So this point is where we're gonna be dealing our skill points. And you can see over here, the main thing is this, right? Cipher being able to go twice allow us to get the energy needed to cast our next patron to deal a tremendous amount of true damage. So whether this was near, you can see over here, 382 into a Cipher follow-up. Sunday comes back in. You can see that because of my speed tuning, I was actually able to squeeze out another Aglaea ultimate. So the moment my Aglaea went over here, I could have honestly just finished it up by letting Garment Maker go and cast another Aglaea's ultimate to basically finish this guy off. So whether or not my Cipher had this ultimate with an absolutely excess amount of 809 patronage, it wouldn't have changed anything. So in hindsight, if you want to play a little bit safe, I could have still gotten the 0 cycle without casting Barbin's ultimate because we are basically left with 30% HP remaining, right? So in any case, we do have quite a decent chunk of overkill damage, and Cipher is just going to wrap it up with one final patronage, and this is going to be 857, getting us the 0 cycle against Hule. Right? I think this Hule, it was a pretty challenging fight, if I can say so myself, and with my favorite team. So this is going to be the build with our E0 S1 Aglaea. I speed tuned her to 162 speed, 79.2% crit rate, probably not ideal that it's going to be maxed out, but it is what it is. As long as you get 80%, it's going to be fine. E0 S1 with a perfectly speed tuned energy regeneration rope, right? We do want an energy regeneration rope, absolutely. Lightning damage, right? These are all the substats, so that's pretty much it. And then for Sunday, we did speed tune to 134 speed, absolutely essential. So always use this speed tuning if you're going to be going for Aglaea 0 cycles, right? For Aglaea, 2 times speed plus 1 over Sunday. If you're not going for 0 cycles on Aglaea, you can consider running the 160 speed Sunday and a slow Aglaea just to make sure that Aglaea always gets the ultimate up permanently, right? And so that's going to be it. Then Robin, exact same Robin that I've been showing you guys previously, and this is going to be the exact same Cipher that I've been showing you guys previously, right? So a lot of potential room for upgrade in the ready department as well. So that is pretty much going to be it for my final 0 cycle. Just to show you guys a potential failed run, even with Aglaea, this was my first ever run. Essentially what happened was that the mobs, he actually killed Garment Maker. Yeah, this guy actually killed Garment Maker. So I had to rebuild my stacks again. And I didn't even notice that Garment Maker died. I'm like, wait, where is my Garment Maker, right? And then, oh shit, Garment Maker actually died. So I had to summon this again. And that definitely impacted my wave 1 quite a little bit. So after my Garment Maker actually died, the rest of the run in wave 1 is still relatively smooth. The only difference was I actually let this guy take an action, right? So at this point, I was not able to kill this golem thing with 2 of the hits from Garment Maker plus Aglaea, and he lived at roughly 1% HP. And you can see over here, like literally 1%, he's gonna do the absorption, but luckily for us, he actually doesn't deal any damage. So this is technically not that bad, since I actually get a little bit more of a skill points as well as energy regeneration from Cipher. So not really the end of the world, which could ironically be even better for this wave. But at this point, you're gonna see why the reason we fail over here. It is purely due to RNG and see who gets hit against Hule. Right? As you can see over here, my Cipher is left with 1000 HP and my Robin is gonna be left with 1.8k HP. So if Cipher can see, if she dies here, it is pretty much game over. So you really want to basically try to gamble as much as possible, right? Because we don't really have any sort of heals, and we're just going to continue over here. Rest of the run is very similar. Cipher gets punched in the face, and then she's pretty much going to get cooked, and that's basically how the run ended, right? So the only reason you fail is just gambling, right? You just gamble on Hule, not killing any of the units, and you should be able to get a 0 cycle using this exact same setup, especially if you have better relic quality than the Creator Experience server. And with that, we have come to the end of my Penta 0 cycle featuring Cipher. This unit definitely took a lot of my time, and I have a great blast playing for her. And before I end off this video, I just want to kind of summarize everything before she launches in 1 week. I do feel that her placement in the banner is a little bit unfortunate because she sort of got like the boot heel treatment, right? She's in between the best sustain slot with Castorice, which could be like potentially the most synergistic sustain with Castorice period, as well as the upcoming Fate collaboration, the rework units for like Silver Wolf, Jingliu Blade, as well as Finon. So I would say that even though she is going to be very fun to play, her value comparatively speaking to a lot of these these other units, it is gonna be a little bit hard to decide, because especially when you have the fake collab, it can be, oh my god, I really want a fake collab and all that kind of stuff, right? So just a little bit there. I showcased all of the zero cycles and a couple of notes to take in point. I think the most important thing is definitely consider running the energy regeneration rope, especially if you're going to be going for the zero cycle, because sometimes you do miss the energy gap to cast your second patronage, especially if you really let go of patronage earlier in the second wave phase 1. Then if you want to get a second wave phase 2, you probably need the energy regeneration to make sure that you can actually let this go, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing to consider is that her personal damage just really doesn't matter that much. So all of the true damage you can see over here is basically from the rest of the team, and if your team is going to be dealing enough damage, Cipher's true damage will then convert and help your team deal damage that much again, which is going to be aligned with our creator experience servers early access guide, right? And then one last thing, I think that her feasibility with a lot of these different team comps, they are definitely very, very prospective. Outside of Acheron, outside of Feixiao, you can see over here she worked with all of these other teams to basically help us get a zero cycle, which once again is not really needed, but I do want to say, if you guys want to try to have fun with her, definitely do so if you are going to be considering that, right? Then yeah, that is pretty much it for our Penta Cipher zero cycle. I'll look forward to her release next week by the time this video comes out. So word of the day is going to be speed. Join Twitch, join YouTube, join Discord, join Twitter, all the best for getting food. See you guys next time. Take care.